Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right, good evening and welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring entrepreneurs and women-owned businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, CEO and founder of the Women's Small Business Initiative, LLC, and award-winning author. Welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have special guests, Jaret and Rocky, owners of Blue Shades Publishing, a Black-owned publishing company that tears the fabric of what the world believes the publishing process is. Blue Shades gives the freedom back to writers with the backing needed to succeed as an author. A family-oriented environment that's goal is to make your book dreams come true as you see fit. Blue Shades Publishing sees the world through our lens. So, without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform, Jaret and Rocky. How you guys doing this evening, gentlemen?
I'm doing just fine. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Okay, so I got both of you guys. So we're going to have to try to work this out. I know it's easy with both of you to talk at the same time because you guys are very close. And right. I want to make sure that we both get, hear both of you guys. And so, I might say, hey, one could go one, or you guys can decide who wants to go first. So as we're going through this process.
I'll let Jared go first.
All right.
Sounds good.
Okay. So anyway, I'm excited to have you on the show. I'm loving this conversation we're going to have because I really want to dive into how you guys do your publishing. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the differences between doing the self-publishing, doing the hybrid publishing, or just having a publisher do everything. So I also want to get into that. Right. But before we dive into any of this conversation, why don't you guys tell me a little bit more about who you are? And tell us a little bit more about what you're doing. So we'll start with Jaret first.
Okay. Well, I'm 24, going on 25 in about a month. We actually started the publishing company because my cousin, who was the co-owner with us, was on today, and my little sister are big writers. So like they've always been into writing. They've always been interested in fantasy or fiction and things like that. So they've been writing for years now, and I wanted to do my part, being that I already started with a company beforehand. Mm-hmm. I have a clothing brand called Sanguine. I wanted to, with that background of networking and business, I wanted to see what I could do to help them in their realm, mm-hmm. Being that I wasn't such a big, reader and everything. So I wanted to do something that we could all do together.
Wow.
So I went ahead and started thinking about, ways I could help. So looking into publishing, mm-hmm. so that they could control the narrative of how their books and things would come out. Mm-hmm. That's really how the publishing, we started talking about publishing, and then doing my research and looking into how, upcoming authors are being treated, or the pros and cons of using a publisher or self-publishing, mm-hmm. especially nowadays, mm-hmm. With social media and, everybody doing it for themselves now. Self-publishing was taking off for like a good minute there. Mm-hmm. And they've been getting away from the regular publishers, and I always wondered why that was. So doing my research, I started to find ways to make it more affordable, as well as, like I said, we like to give back the narrative back to the authors, mm-hmm. So that they can control how their book is seen, how their book is talked about, where it's seen at, things like that. That's what really matters, because the author wants the story to be shown in a certain way, mm-hmm. so that you understand it in a certain way. So that's really what made us start, for the most part. Well, that's how I got involved, I should say.
Okay.
And then
all right. So
yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Yeah. And hold your thought, because I know there's some more stuff we're going to talk about, but Rocky and I,
For
we
sure.
talked, we talked for a little bit before Jared came on. And so Rocky, talk a little bit more about what pushes you into writing and how you got started.
So I've always been a writer. If you ask my cousin, I've been writing all my life. Like that's just always it's always something I've been good at. I was always good at creative writing in school. English and stuff like that was always, it just was something that just kind of came to me. So I started writing a book, and I remember we went in, I think it was 2018, that we went to go see Pirates of the Caribbean 5, I do believe, Dead Man's Hotel. And so I happened to be sitting next to my younger cousin, Jared's sister, and throughout the entire movie, she's very critical of like creative works, writing and stuff, and all that. How like it's executed, like she will dissect it in a second. So we're sitting there talking about it, like kind of like between each other, like watching the movie, and we didn't really like it all that much. And I was like, all right, I bet I could write a better story. She was like, I mean, can you write a better story? And I'm the type of person where it's like, you tell me I can't do something, now I have to do it. So I was like, yes, I can. And then I went and started writing, like basically just like a story, just like a short story. Just like playing around with the idea of pirates and everything like that. So I showed it to her. I showed it to my cousin. I showed it to Jared. I said, sir. And Jared's like, it was really good. You should keep up with it. Keep on kind of expanding. And I was like, you know what? You're right. All right, bet. So this was like September, I want to say either summer or September of 2018. I kind of sat on it until I went to go visit my family in New Jersey in winter of 2018, like December area. And so like I was bored, like at home with my family and everything. And so I was like, all right, bet I'm gonna like continue with like what I said I was gonna do with the story and everything like that. So I started writing more and more and more. And then when I came back in 2019, early 2019, talking to my cousin about it, like I had like a full-fledged story, like that was like in the process of like it had a beginning, it was like more so towards the middle of the story. So then we went and then did an interview with a family friend of ours because she's really into filmography and everything. And she ended up like I was wearing like these blue shades during the interview. I remember because when it was on the way to the interview, my cousin sitting there cracking jokes on me about them because he's like, like all the things you could have worn because it didn't work with my outfit. I'll defend him right there. It didn't work with my outfit.
Thank you
for
pointing that out.
Yeah, I had like a red flannel on, and like I can't even remember the pants I was wearing. It just didn't work with the outfit. Anyway, so we show up, we do the interview. As we're editing the video, we went to like Barnes and Noble or something like that after the fact. And we were like coming up because we were still trying to figure out, because we knew we wanted to do a publishing company. We just didn't know the name for it yet. And so he was like, what about blue shades? Because like he was like cracking jokes on the shades, and we was like looking through the frames, the shades and everything like that. I was like, actually, that's a really good idea. And then he was like, we could wear blue shades to events and stuff like that. It kind of gives us a bit of a different, like feel and gives us a bit of an identity. So that was kind of like how we started. The whole process for me, a big part of it was always like my cousin said, I wanted the freedom to control my work. Right. So like, I don't understand why a publisher should be able to get half of what a writer made. The publisher wouldn't even have a book to publish if the writer didn't make the book, So for me, it just didn't make any sense. These publishers, they want all this money up front from you just for a name. I talked to a family friend of mine, and he was talking about like his process of publishing. Traditionally, he paid like $4,000 or $5,000, and they don't even pay him regularly. They paid him quarterly. There was barely any marketing. It was on Amazon, and like he didn't like I asked him, like what are they doing as far as the marketing and everything like that? Like what are they doing with your book? They don't even talk to him about his own work. They don't brief him about it. He gets paid quarterly. They send him a check in the mail every now and then after they've been taking out their money and all that. Of course, they take like 60-some% of the money, and then that's it.
Right. So let's break this down a little more. Right. So you're essentially talking about the process of publishing, and we all know that publishing is a game, right? It's about them having connections at the end of the day, and with those connections is where people feel that they need when they come out as an author that's totally unknown, not realizing that it's they're not going to really get known because their whole focus is really not about them, it's about the money. So you guys you mentioned up front, Jared, the fact that it's about controlling the narrative, but there's more than just controlling the narrative. You guys talk about the process that you guys have built and provided to people, that and the reason why you're wanting them to come to you versus possibly self-publishing themselves or going to the traditional publishing type companies. Talk about your differences in what you provide and how you do truly stand out.
Definitely. Like he was alluding to, like how Rocky was ending, how he was alluding to, we're more affordable. So, for example, like he said, his family friend, the cut was like 60% or 70%. It's always more favored to the publisher. With Blue Shades Publishing, we don't have a cut that's over 50%, and that's only based upon how much you can afford when it comes to printing. So, for sake of conversation, I always like to put it like, if printing your book is $300 for sake of conversation, and you decide to do the 50-50 split on the printing, we would only make about 30%. We'd make 30% on the book. So we're actually our company is basically betting on you. We believe in your work. The author always makes more than us. Of course, the printing price and the fees only are based upon what the author can do. So, for example, there's different ways to get around spending a lot of money. Like I said, with the printing. So, or let's say they don't have the $300. They might be able to only pay $100 or $50, so that we would pay more of the printing fee, but we just have a little bit more of a percentage, but we wouldn't have anything over 50% on the sales. That is. We also have points in the contract where we have graphic designers that do your cover art. If you have a graphic designer, or you already have a cover art, well, you wouldn't have to pay that fee. You wouldn't need to pay that fee. So that takes out another fee. If you have an editor that you would like to use other than what we have, that's perfectly fine. You can use them. Now, there is a fee if we have to fix it, but if we don't have to fix anything and they do what they're supposed to, you miss out on another fee. Right. So our contract is based off of a lot of if you have what you need, and it's more affordable for you to do it that way, we want you to do it that way, because the goal for us, not necessarily just to make money, but to actually help you put out the book, because that's what your dream is.
Right.
But then, of course, put out the book, and
But at the same token, you it's also repetitive. You would like to have that repetitive customer come back, because you're showing them that it's not about, like you said, just the money. Obviously, you still need to make money in order to keep the business going.
Definitely.
But having that repetitive customer, that repeat customer, come back to you over and over from another book, because they have that trust now that you've built a rapport with them. Right, because you're giving them the freedoms that they didn't hear from somebody else or didn't understand.
Exactly.
So what does it look like, though, for
somebody? And I was just about to allude to that.
Okay.
Yep. I was just about to allude to that. Perfect segue. And that's where I was going to go into, like, the family-oriented part. For all our authors, we're one phone call away, one text message away, one email away. We're constantly in contact. If you ever need something, any questions, whether that's a promotion idea, because everyone has a different marketing strategy for how they would like to, because we come up with one for your book specifically. So however you would like to do that, any questions on, vendor events, or if you have any questions about how to promote or what to do here and there, Our phone is always open. We're in constant contact from start to finish.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then from finish, we're still in contact because we're trying to find ways to sell the book. You know what I'm saying? So we have a great rapport with all of our authors so far. We have 8 now. We only been in business for we're pushing 3 years now, I believe.
Just a little over 3 years now.
A little over 3. So great rapport with all of our authors. Anytime they need anything, our phones are always open, and we do our best to make sure that they feel accommodated.
Right.
Yeah.
So what does it look like for the client who comes in and says, look, I have this book. I just want to write. I don't want to do anything else. How does that world look for them when you guys are being their actual full publisher?
You want me to answer? You want him to answer?
Go ahead.
No, y'all, either one. Step on up, Rocky.
Go ahead,
Rocky. So basically, from that point forward, like, assuming like we signed and everything, our goal is, like, I always tell people, because we have people signed where like they're just in the writing process, right? So for me, I always say, take your time to write out your story, because like once it's out there, it's out there. If that's the thing like you're most focused on right now, focus on that. We ain't gonna give you a deadline for your work, for your vision. And when you're ready, we can take it from there. We go through and then we edit it. Like my cousin said, you know, if you want us to edit it, we'll edit it. I'll go through line by line with the author, breaking down, you know, like, this is how this is going to sit based upon the size that we're looking for that you're going for the book, based upon, you know, like everything. This is how it's going to look. This is how we want to sit. Do you want to change anything? We go from there. And then from there, the first thing we do, once everything is printed and stuff like that, is we're trying to get you to showcase. You know, like, we will help you set up events and stuff like that to get you to showcase. The first thing I do is like ask you, like, you got any family members that you like you have family that they have their own business, or like a store that you always wanted to have your work in, or like to do an event, a gathering space and stuff like that. We go there, we speak to the owners or the event planners, set up an event, and then we have that all set up. We coordinate with the author, like, look, this is where the event is, you know, like, how do you want to set it up? We'll make sure that it gets set up this way, and then we take it from there. I always say, we are the crew of the ship, you are the captain. To go back to my metaphor earlier about when you're the one who's making the book, you're the captain of the ship, we're the crew. It's our job to help you get to the next level, to get wherever you're trying to go. Now, everybody has their own vision for where they're going to go, or like what they want to accomplish with their book.
Right.
Because not everybody is trying to be a bestseller. Some people just really wanted to get this work out here, and they want to show to their family and friends and loved ones and stuff like that what they've got. Other people, they want to go bigger, so you got to approach that differently. But ultimately, that's how we do it. You know, like, we want you to focus on the things that are most passionate for you. And if you come to us and you want to hear, you know, like, our process and everything like that, and you just want to sign for right now so that you can use our services later. Or I'm talking to a dude this week, he's got poetry. He wanted me to read through his poetry and kind of give him my take on his poetry, not as his publisher or anything like that, but just as, you know, like a reliable source. You feel me? So we, like my cousin said, like, we're family oriented. So for me, it's always about, you know, make sure your work is ready first and that you're happy with what you got. If that means we got to wait 6 more months because you got to make sure your book is right, then it ain't my job to sit here and tell you, like, look, we need a book out yesterday. You know, it's not about that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of how we
it does. It does. Yeah, it just, you know, like I said, there's so many different processes, and more people are, and more companies, I can honestly say, are coming out with the hybrid approach, you know, where, like you said, more people are more involved in what they're doing, and versus just sitting on the sideline and letting the publisher take that full control. And that's essentially, you know, what you guys are providing, but you've added some of the extra steps and perks that comes with that, because you're giving them a strategy that usually the publishing company just runs with it. Like you said, the gentleman we were talking about earlier took control, and he gets his little paycheck and he doesn't even know what's going on. So yeah, there's definitely we still have that big process that's out there. And normally when I hear or see about people who are going through the process of a large publishing company is because they're already well known. They already know their names out there. We know who you are, and basically they're using their name as a part of that process, and they know they're going to make the money they want to make off of them, and they know they're in the background doing nothing. So, those are some of the things that people who are new at this, they really can't afford that process, and they really don't understand that process. So in the process, when you guys are working with your clientele that come to you, and some people, are much more interested in learning what that process is and understanding that step by step to know, how does this really work? How can I make it to the next level? What advice do you guys give them when they're at that point where they may be utilizing it as a point for their business so that they can stand out more, or it may be because it's something else they want to do, and this is what they may want to do for the rest of their lives as a part of their living? What steps are you providing and saying to them, hey, this is how we can get you to that next level? How do you guys rethink that?
Right. I guess I'll take it. I like to usually, like, we set up a consultation. Usually the consultation, there's no, like, you don't have to sign with us from the jump or anything like that. It's just strictly so you can get information, because that's what you're yearning for, right? So
use information
with that, right? So with that information, you get to ask those type of questions where, what's the formula for this? What should I be looking for? What can I do to feel more comfortable with this? Because a lot of times, a lot of the authors that we come across, they're honestly scared, right?
Right.
Because, this is something that's really near and dear to their heart, and haven't really shared with the world yet. So getting it to a big publisher sometimes is scary. Sometimes getting it to a smaller publisher is even scary, because a lot of the smaller publishers, haven't been around as long.
Exactly.
Everyone else have, what I'm saying? So in that consultation, I try to give people comfort in knowing that they're, like I said, in full control, and they have all the creative direction. Like Rocky said, I love going back to is we're the crew of the ship. We give you the answers you're looking for, and we're okay. The goal at the end of the day is for you to put out the book. We'd love for you to publish with us, but the goal for the day is for you to put out the book. So whether that's from what kind of cover art do I need, editing, what does that look like, what size works, how do I market to an audience, things like that. The whole gambit. We're open to answering, depending on, of course, each book is different, so you have to handle it differently.
Right.
But constantly providing that, taking the weight off of, the fear of dealing with publishers and things. We kind of give almost a little crash course on how to, what to look for, what you're going to need, like an ISBN, a barcode.
Right. Right. That's right. Yep.
Essential things to having a book, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then also still being able to put your own little spin on it, because, some people have parameters that you have to meet and things like that. So just giving a rundown on that, and then from there, seeing where they're at and helping them get to the next level.
All right. Okay, so let's dive into the magazine. Talk about your new magazine. Yeah. I'm excited to hear more about it, so tell us all about your magazine.
Definitely. You want to start or Rocky? I'm not sure.
I'll start and I'll let you finish. I won't say everything this time. I'll actually let you. So, because I have to do this a lot when we be talking. I'll be talking to interviewing people for the magazine and everything. So, basically, first off, the name of the magazine is Pariah. The reason why we went with the name Pariah is because of the fact it encapsulates our experience with going into business, right? A pariah is an outsider, outcast, outlier, a person who is apart from the group, apart from the pack. And what we found was that people will show a lot of support for you at first. They'll show like tons of it. Like they'll be excited that you go into business. They'll support you and all of that for the first couple months. And then it slows up. They're not reposting any of the stuff you're posting. They're not telling people about your services. They ain't trying to use your services. They kind of just forget about you. It makes you feel like an outsider, like a pariah.
Right.
And so that was why we came up with the name Pariah Magazine. Our goal is ultimately to kind of be like that little boost, that little help for people, because like tons of people got skills, they got services, they got abilities, and they're good with them. It's just that we live in a digital age. We live in the age of social media, and not everybody has the time or the energy or the know-how to grow on social media, and we will kind of like skim over people who could be just as qualified or just as good at something as somebody else based off the number of followers they have. Our goal is to kind of build a community so that we can help each other, because if I'm in the magazine and you're in the magazine and this person's in the magazine, we all want our people to see us in the magazine. And inadvertently, when I go to show people my magazine, or I get somebody to buy the magazine because I'm in the magazine, I'm also putting you on. They flip through the magazine, they go to your page, you do art, you have a book that you're putting out, because it's not just, our authors and stuff like that are in the magazine. You do music, you do all of these things, and it's an opportunity for you to get put on. Our goal is ultimately, we trying to reach a point where our name, the name Pariah, is synonymous with like Ebony Magazine, but it's not necessarily for the people that you would see in Ebony Magazine.
Right.
Most of the people that are in Ebony Magazine, they already got a name big enough that Ebony Magazine is looking for them.
Right.
Ebony Magazine is not looking for the common man. They are not interviewing somebody that is just starting up and has no name like that. They're looking for people that are already well established. We're trying to help people get to that point.
Right. And is this magazine digital as well as hard copy?
Right now it's just
a hard copy.
Okay. That's even better.
And the next, which we love, because holding the book in your hand is different.
Yes.
We wanted to have that same feel with the magazine, but we will be doing a digital copy in the near future, more than likely before the year's out, just so we can have both. But to piggyback off of what Rocky was saying, we want to build. The thing that I struggled with the most starting business was looking for a community of people to support me. A lot of entrepreneurship has lonely moments that nobody really talks about.
That's right. Right.
There's a lot of nights, you're by yourself. You don't got really much to lean on, because, a lot of us come from circles or backgrounds where that's not normal. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Going the entrepreneurial route. So it's hard when you're following something you're so passionate about, and and you're not getting the support you feel.
Exactly. And the thing I love about what you guys have done, you literally have jumped in it with all fours. I mean, and that's brave. It takes a lot to say, you know what, like you just said, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. And when people don't understand, the one thing I've learned about being in business, when they don't understand, it's not meant for them to understand. And it's okay.
Exactly.
And so you have to connect yourself with those people who are in business, even if it's not the same, but understanding that process of what it means to be a businessman or a businesswoman or whatever the case may be. And you guys are a partnership, which is even more pressure to some degree, because you both have to be able to sync, and you guys do that well, but you're also still learning the process. And, one has strength that's all business because you've done business before. The other one has strength that's all majority of writing. So to be able to collaborate them together as one, that right there is a feat of its own. So then when you're pushing into these other levels, of being in business, you're right, many lonely nights. And then as you get further to the top, it's going to be even lonelier. So,
I fully understand.
Because not everybody understands. Yeah. So go ahead. Mm-hmm.
And I was just gonna say that's why the magazine was so important. Because we know there's that void. So we wanted to create a community centered around this magazine to push people to, be more supportive of one another for what they have going on from all walks of life. Just like you said, they might not have the same business as you, but y'all have the same type of struggle, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So the musicians of the world that are newcomers are trying to get their name out there, the artists of the world that are trying to get their name out there, the other small business owners, I don't like saying small business, but business owners, they're all working to do the same thing. We get much farther together than divided. So why not have a community where the people that come into the magazine get to talk about what they have going on, and they're in an area in the magazine where there's other businesses that get to talk about what they're going on and talk about their backgrounds and how to connect with people. We also are implementing things into the magazine where you use QR codes and to get to what they have going on. So, because a lot of people are digital now, and we will have a digital magazine soon, but the QR codes takes you straight to their website and all their content and things like that. So we're finding new ways to make the magazine more interactive, because magazines are for some people outdated.
You're right, right, but they're definitely making a comeback. Because like you said, there's still a lot of people who want that in their hand. Yeah, it's a lot different. So, digital is great, but the one thing I don't like about digital is because once you kind of lose it and you don't want to go back and try to find it again.
It's over.
But when you have that magazine in your hand, it's like that book in your hand. It just makes a hell of a difference, in my opinion. So I'm old school, so I prefer that. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what we want, right? We want to be able to meet both age groups. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Those who enjoy holding it physically, those who enjoy not so much holding it physically and just, swiping through, so that now you can go through our magazine, and next thing you know, you are on your phone researching whoever's person page you're on and their business and what they have going on and things like that. So we're taking magazines to a different level when it comes to things like that, to make it more interactive and more enjoyable for the reader, as well as, like I said, getting our people out there that we've met along the way and continue to meet through the Pariah magazine. We plan to do events and all types of stuff down the line.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
All right. So tell me about the podcast. Blue Shades Publishing podcast.
Yeah.
I love podcasting, so we got to talk about the podcast.
Definitely. Well, I guess Robbie started the last one. So, so with the podcast, everything, we try to make everything kind of intermingle. So, with the Blue Shades Publishing, if you are one of our authors, you get a free episode on our podcast. You get a free spot on the magazine, just to intermingle everything. But to answer your question back to the podcast is really more so about, our daily struggles that don't get talked about. So, as an entrepreneur, for the most part, so we have a lot of different entrepreneurs that come on to, talk about things. A lot of them being, because our audience is so young, or most of our audience is young. Majority of them are, in their 20s or early 30s. Even some teenagers, that are working to test the waters of going after their passions and things like that. We also discuss the difference in how social media has taken over, or how much we obsess over youth, or, how fear stops us from doing certain things. A lot of the daily things that we look over or ignore to get through the day. or things that we always try to give somebody something to encourage them and to motivate them to keep pushing. And I feel like that was the thing that I was lacking, was in this whole entrepreneurship journey, was somebody that constantly was in your corner, like, all right, tough day today, but you got this. Next day's gonna be better.
Right.
Changing the mindset. That's the main thing, is changing the mindset. If we're going in with an optimistic mindset and with the right mindset, we're gonna have better results. So that's really what the podcast is pushing for the most part. Scanning over different topics and things, but the main thing is always making sure our mindset is in the right place so that we can progress.
Right. But I love that you guys are sharing. You're willing to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's the thing that I always like to face, even when I'm having these conversations, because being an entrepreneur is not always easy. There's many days I wake up and be like, you know what? Why am I doing this today? You go through that process. You wouldn't be human if you didn't, because not every day is going to be a good day. Right. But having these types of conversations are very important, because a lot of times when people see us as entrepreneurs, they only see the good part. So they think,
right,
life
untouchable,
is perfect.
Everything's going great.
Right, right. And they don't understand what you had to go through just to get to that great moment, so to speak, And that's the beauty about having the opportunity to sit down and talk to my entrepreneurs and let them tell their stories, because they just need to be heard. And, I just think a lot of times people just believe that being their own boss is the greatest thing, since sliced pie, which is fine. But it does come with a lot of opportunities, a lot of
caveats.
Yes, exactly. All
sacrifices.
The things, sacrifices the whole thing of being in business, right? So, you're losing out on some things, you're gaining on others, and when you see other people so-called living their life, you sometimes feel like, they're having the best life, but not realizing too that you think we're missing out, but we may not be so much missing out. It's just, like I said, it's about living and truly enjoying the opportunity of your fruits of your labor, as well as helping others, fulfill their dreams and their passions, because that's what we do. When you're an entrepreneur, because we can't be in business without them. So. But of course we always
without a doubt.
But of course we always have those that you'd be like, going back to your corner, because we don't want to deal with you today.
Oh boy, got a litany, got a long list of those.
Exactly.
Long list.
Yeah, we could write a book about that on its own. So we'll have to have that conversation some other day.
Yeah, I am all for that one, because goodness gracious.
Absolutely.
But that's why we have to have the proper mindset, because we have to turn that into, we either have to ignore it or turn it into fuel to do better and better ourselves. Like I said, one of my favorite sayings is eat the meat and leave the bones. So
you live by that saying.
I'm okay with the constructive criticism, but the delivery it doesn't always have to be as it is. You know what I'm saying? So, but you always can learn something from it. So, but yeah, definitely could write a book about that. But yeah,
All right, gentlemen, we're getting close to the end of the show. But before we end, please share any of the new items you want to talk about this evening, or if you have any upcoming events, and of course, let us know how we can reach out to you.
Very right.
Well, you can always get hold of us at BlueShadesPublishing@gmail.com, or on Instagram. Now I think we're at Blue Shades NC now, right, Jaret?
Yep.
Yeah.
Our podcast.
So those I was getting to
our
that.
Podcast
I was going to tell people.
Okay, do you think? My fault. My bad. Do you think?
See, he already stepping on me. All right. You can contact us at BlueShadesPublishing@gmail.com. Contact us on Instagram at Blue Shades NC. Those are like the first mainline ways to get a hold of us. Obviously, check out the podcast, Blue Shades Podcast. Check out the magazine, Pariah Magazine, especially like if you're a small business creator, anything like that, with the service or the ability you're trying to push to the people. We always want more people to be featured in Pariah Magazine. Like publishing inquiries and everything that kind of gets covered by the Instagram and by our email. Yeah, I know you got some other things I probably missed, so you go on.
Of course. Of course. Pride Magazine issue 2 is going to be dropping in April. So make sure y'all stay tuned for that. We do have openings for business inquiries when it comes to publishing, even if you want to set up consultations just to ask questions and you want to learn more about the publishing world, always free to set up consultations through either the Gmail, our website at blueshadespublishing.com, or our Instagram at Blueshades Publishing NC. And yes, that is all. And of course, tune into
Go ahead.
the podcast. Go ahead.
Yes. I was going to ask, is the podcast on all platforms or is it on specific platforms?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. All any platform that has a podcast at this point.
Okay.
At this point,
make sure that
you name it.
Oh my goodness.
You name it. We found a way to get on it.
Excellent.
iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, Google, iTunes Radio, you name it. So you can find Blue Shades podcast.
All right. Well, that's definitely what I wanted to know. So I will definitely have this information in the show notes so that everybody can find you. For those who don't know who you all are, and so we don't have to worry about not finding you. We will make sure we know who you are, and then of course all we have to do is look for the blue shades, right?
For sure, always. That's the theme. So anywhere you see us, we'll have blue shades.
All right. All right, gentlemen. Well, it has been a pleasure having you both on the show tonight, and thank you for sharing all your information. Yes, and I love the family-oriented environment that you guys have put this business into. I think that is very important, and I'm looking forward to seeing more and learning more from you all. And I hope to talk to you again soon in the near future, because I definitely want to. Learn more about all the other things you're going to have coming out the pike later on, because you're going to continue to grow and, keep doing what you're doing. You guys are a blessing, and you definitely need to be around. Like I said, I love your spirit. I love what you guys are showing these young people that they need to understand about being in business. That's important. So they have somebody that they can connect to. So
thank you, definitely.
All right. So again, like I said, thank you for coming on the show tonight. And
thank you, Miss Kimberly.
You're welcome. You're very, very welcome. And so for everyone else, I hope that you enjoyed this portion of tonight's show, in that understanding the world of publishing doesn't have to be about just one thing. And these two gentlemen are definitely showing you that there's another part of publishing that is very different and unique, and it's unique for you. So if you're prepared and you're ready for your future and you want to have a conversation, you can reach out to me at Kimberly at WSBILC@gmail.com, and let's chat about how to take you to those next steps so you can turn those dreams into goals. And if you just want to talk to me about getting connected to Jaret and Rocky, I can get you there. I promise you. I know these guys pretty well. So I can definitely get you to who you need to get to without a doubt. But of course, if you want more of your resource for success, monetary donations to support the podcast are now accepted on Cash App, PayPal, Good Pods Tip Jar, or you can go directly to the website at www.wsbilc.com. But again, we would like to thank you all for listening to us tonight. We will be back next week with more amazing guests. And be sure to follow us on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Until then, enjoy the rest of your evening, and good night.
Have a good one.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.